All right. Happy Friday, everyone. It's Marshall Atkinson again with my good friend Alan. Say hey, Alan.
How you doing, everyone?
So I've had a fantastic week, and I'm ready to wrap it up. And although I got to tell you, I'm doing my taxes tomorrow.
Nothing like waiting
I've
for
been putting it off since the day got moved to the 15th, and I've been, frankly, been procrastinating. But I'm just making an extra pot of coffee and doing it. Got to pay Uncle Sam.
Absolutely, and that's a great reminder to anybody. If you haven't done your taxes, get it done.
Yeah, I'm usually way ahead, but just didn't get to it, and the whole pandemic hit, and then it's just a couldn't bring myself to actually do the work. I got everything ready to go. I just have to do it. So anyway, so we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. So Charles is in.
Hey, Charles from New Mexico.
Yep. How you doing? And just a reminder to everyone that this is a Q&A show, right?
We got to have the questions.
It isn't just Alan and I pontificating from our soapbox, right? Although I think we're good at that. We want to hear your questions, your comments, your problems. The show exists for you. Use it.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, do you want to get into stuff, or do you have anything to just talk about real quick before we get into the topics?
Not really. I also have had a great week. It's been, things are starting to break out there. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. I've had some great conversation with clients. I am just very excited for the future. I'm not saying everything is 1,000% better. We're back to normal, not at all. But it has been such a dark place. I am seeing light and brightness and things happening. And you know what? We're not saying it's new. We're not saying it's back. It's what we've always been saying, Marshall. It's a next normal. And I'm actually starting to get excited about the next normal, trying to work it out. So, love to know what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Me personally, for my coaching business, I've reactivated one shop who has now got enough business to start working with me again. And I've got 2 new clients this week. So that's 3 in the last 7 days or so. So that's really exciting for me. So thank you so much for coming back. I'm not going to mention you guys, but by name, but thanks. It's going to be great. And very excited about a lot of stuff that's going on. But before we get into the topics, I want to share a personal shout out to Colette Wilhelm with Monster Inc. down in South Florida. Her son, 22-year-old son, yesterday passed out from a heat stroke and having some sort of medical procedure today. I don't really know what's going on with that, but I just want to give her a shout out to let her know that I'm thinking of her and her son, and to make sure that everybody, especially if it's god awful hot in your shop, and I've been there, right? I've been there. I'm from Florida, right? I know how hot it gets. That you drink water all the time, that you rehydrate, you take plenty of breaks. When I ran a shop in Florida, normally we would do a morning break and an afternoon break. During the summer, we had 2 breaks in the morning and 2 breaks in the afternoon. We had a cooler full of Gatorade that you could get at any time. We wanted to make sure we took care of our employees. Lots of fans, swamp coolers, all of that stuff. I know lots of shops are moving into getting AC units for their shop, pointing the ducts right at their people, right? And not getting the temperature down to like the 60s, but comfortable. So it's 80, it's 85 and not 114.
Exactly.
Right? You're still sweating, but you're not going to pass out, right? So please look at that and make sure you're doing what you need to do so you don't have an issue like, Colette's having right now, because that's some drama that you don't need in your life. So I'm thinking about her. Please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And
And I think
You
everywhere,
posted online and all the groups about it too. So I'm sure you've seen that. So
I think everywhere in the United States is a heat wave, which it's weird because in Michigan in May it snowed on Mother's Day. But we're in the 90s. I was in some shops, a big shop, this week, and they have a lot of people are starting to come in at like 5:36 in the morning.
yes,
Done by 1. So yeah, stay hydrated, everybody. I think it's everywhere in the country.
Right.
They've
114 yesterday here where I live. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be 115 on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's crazy hot.
Yeah. And, we want to remember that, we see each other at shows. We see each other online. We are a community. We do care. Colette, I have talked to her online before. I don't think I've ever met her. But, yeah, we need to keep her son in our thoughts. When we're thankful for the successes for, like, Michael Woolbright, who's done well and doing there, taking slow, making some changes in his business of delegating some stuff. We've mentioned it before, Jim Kozic's in New Jersey, still in the hospital. And our thoughts need to be with him, with everybody there, because it does hit us. It's not just an industry. These are real people.
Right.
Yeah.
All righty. So, and Aaron says he's joking, but it's a dry heat. Yeah.
It is.
But that dry heat means that you still need to drink some Gatorade, dude. So,
I know when I visited Arizona, the dry heat meant that I can't feel myself dehydrated because I'm not sweating. So by the time I know I need water, it's like I'm almost to the point of passing out.
Right. Yes. Right.
And a dry heat means it goes from 104 to 100, right? It just feels like 100 then.
Well, it's a humidity thing, right?
Yeah.
So where I live, it's crazy ass hot, right? And you never sweat, right? You're like in Florida, it's like you take a shower and then put your clothes on. That's what it feels like. Here in Arizona, your clothes never are wet. Unless you're like running and being active, and then they sweat, and then it just instantly evaporates out, right? So, so you never, and like I have a pool, and I think that's almost mandatory when you live here. You have to have a pool. Right. And when you get out of the pool, there's no humidity, so the evaporation occurs, and even though it's 110, 115, you're shivering, wrapping up in your towel, drying off because the evaporation process is cooling your skin at such a higher rate. It feels like it's like 50 degrees. It's the weirdest thing. I've lived here for, I don't know, how long have I lived here now? 4 years or so, and I'm still not used to it. So
what makes a great screen drying room atmosphere for drying your screens for screen printing?
Well, you still need humidity though, so you can't get it to 0, right? And you want to be about 30%.
Yeah, most shops can't get to 0 even in Arizona because there's so much water around them in there because there's new bathrooms and stuff like that. But yeah, very rarely now have I ever seen in my career where I know it's possible on stencils to get too dry and get brittle. I have never seen it in 33 years happen.
Yeah. Well, so have a hygrometer. Let's look at that.
Handle it. So
yeah. And Keith's here. Hey, Keith.
Keith, how you doing?
So let's jump into some topics.
The Ghost is here from.
Oh yeah, did I miss him?
Yep, we'll watch it on YouTube.
Ghosta, hey, how's it going? YouTube.
Yep.
I love that YouTube, man.
Yep.
Jack's doing great. We're up to 69 subscribers for my YouTube channel.
Ghosta from Uppsala. We love it. I saw.
I just like saying that word, Uppsala.
Uppsala. It's awesome. It's a vacation spot. I've seen brochures. I see online too. He's lurking, but my buddy Tim Towers is watching. So Tim, I see you there, buddy. We got you. So,
hey, please leave a comment. Don't be anonymous.
Yep.
Don't hide from us.
Or I will call you out.
Right now, I think Alan, you should start calling people out. Right?
I just did. Yeah.
Yeah, but more than because we sometimes have other people, right?
We will, and I'll start doing that.
Right. All right.
I know Tim is production manager at a pretty decent sized shop, so I'm sure he's listening and watching and doing stuff too. So he may not even hurt.
Well, you can multitask. We just
exactly
say hey, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so here's our first topic. You ready?
Let's go.
Boom. What is the process that you're afraid of? All right, chicken livers.
All right, guys, go.
What are you afraid of getting into that you are completely avoiding? You know better. In your gut, you go, you know what? I really, I should learn that. I should do better. Okay. But you just don't do it. We want to talk about that right now and get that stuff out in the open. And Alan, before the show started, we were kind of talking about some stuff. So why don't you share some thoughts?
Well, Marshall, one thing I didn't say, you know how I come up with these things we've talked about? I see on message boards, which I have a love-hate with message boards, that people asking the same questions for weeks and weeks on end on message boards instead of just going to the source of the people who know, and then just put your toe in the water, your feet in the water, and get in there. So there are some things as a screen print guy that I just think that should be right there. I think people are still afraid of. And the first one that came to mind, I told Marshall, is low cure plastisol. And I have said this in seminars. If you've taken my seminars, I would not attempt polyester of any form without low cure. But in my mind, do you know all plastisol will stick to all fabrics? A non-polyester plastisol will stick to cotton. Low cure will stick to cotton. And in my mind, I would be using low cure for everything, have a mixing system with it, and I'd use it on everything. And I have people that are still afraid of making that jump into low cure inks.
And then you're just curing everything at 270 and 280.
You could, yeah. We won't even talk about energy savings and flash savings. Yes, you have to adjust your flashes and stuff. But I see people still going, okay, what about low cure? How do I do this? This has been around for over 10 years now. It's not new.
And why do you think that is?
I don't know without being sarcastic mean sometimes. I see as
yeah, I'm giving you license to be sarcastic and mean.
The stupidity of the American person never ceases to amaze me, including me. And we get so caught up and fearful of the unknown in our business, of making a mistake. What if this happens? What if that happens? And I think the fear of not doing something prevents us from stepping forward. And I remember, and I've referred to him before, my uncle and I talking, who owns Progressive Foam Technology in a different industry. You know what? He always says, sow good seed, bear good fruit. You know what? When you have decisions to make the decision. If it doesn't work out, then make another one.
Yeah.
Nothing is etched in stone. I think we forget.
What's
the other thing? And I see. Go ahead.
We're talking over each other. What's the old phrase? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. I think low cure inks are right there. I would be using them for almost everything, on there. Now, the other thing we came up with, and he now just popped on, it's not because he just popped on. You did an interview with Dan Solomon on silicone ink. Oh my gosh. If I was printing jerseys and polyester and stuff like that, I would be learning to do silicone right now. Right. There would be no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care about plastisol. I don't care about HSA. Just do it. Learn to do it and do it. Right. And those are the fears. The first things that came to mind are fears. Now, all that being said, Bad Alan said, okay, the stupidity of the American person never ceases to amaze me, even me, because there are things that I'm afraid of that I have had to be pushed on. Marshall has pushed me for a long time on things. And
where's your podcast, Alan?
I'm doing it right now with you. No,
that's what I'm talking about, and you know it.
Ideas for a podcast outside of this industry, and Marshall is going, oh my gosh, that's gold. and I still haven't done it. I am known for, and I'll give you another example of the fear factor. I came up with 5 fundamentals of screen printing eons ago, and it took 2 years before I did anything. Richard Greaves, who, by the way, your interview with him was amazing yesterday. Richard Greaves finally told me, he goes, all right, it's been 2 years. You have 3 months. If you don't do something with it, I'm stealing it. That was his way of pushing me into the water, learn to swim.
Yeah, right. Well, I think we have some comments. Yosa says there is still some that run company on Windows XP that don't fix what's not broken, right? And that's kind of what Keith said. Don't fix what's not broken. And then Braden, hey Braden, how's it going? Said we just did 2 silicone projects for SAMR this week. Love the feel. Flashing is a bit tricky with it when you're first starting. Hey Dan, why don't you post a comment about flashing and give him a tip real quick? But
I think the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Does that fit? Well, maybe. I don't know. There's some buggy whips.
You're not improving.
Yeah.
If hey, why don't we all still drive a Ford Model T?
They still work,
right? If it's not broke, fix it. That's not improving things. That's not solving problems. That's not getting you to be more competitive.
Yep.
And I think one of the things we do is, as Americans, and I know people like this, they won't try something because they're not an instant winner, right? They can't be the instant expert. They don't want to go through the pain of making all the mistakes and stubbing their toe and figuring it out and why won't it work. And they know it's going to take 2 or 3 tries and they might ruin a bunch of stuff and it's going to cost some money. And they won't go through that process because they want instant satisfaction where they instantly know, right? And that just doesn't happen, right? You have to, let me tell you, you have to goof up a bunch of stuff. Look at this Q&A thing that me and you were doing. Do you remember the first one we did? It was horrible.
I had to buy a new computer because I threw it against the wall.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even let me in. I was doing it by text, and I'm trying to answer questions, and I'm just losing my mind.
Yeah, right. But I don't even think it's still where we want to take it, right? Because we're kind of inventing it as we go. But
yeah.
But it's one of these things. We've got a new platform. We got some logos on here. We kind of have messed around with it a little bit. Remember, we just now hooked it up to YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? That just happened a month ago. I mean, so it's like one of these things. The only way you're going to learn this stuff, I think, is to just be okay with not doing it right.
Yep.
Not being 100%. Maybe you only get to 50%. But guess what? Can you learn from it? What do you need? And then moving forward with things. And this is in all things, not just in decoration. This could be with your sales, with your lead gen, with how you invoice your clients, with all types of stuff, right?
I have a hard time, Marshall, because I am not an entrepreneur like you guys are. Well, Marshall, let's put it this way. I remember when you just said, and I think it was Mr. Coudray who said, you were at a time in your life you weren't sure what to do, and you said you're going to look back and eventually go, this was the best thing that ever happened. And I think we get forced to make these changes, and we look back, go, why didn't I do that years ago? Yeah. And for those of you that own businesses, man, I salute you because you have taken the biggest challenge ever. What are you afraid of? You started your own business. You guys are rock stars. You didn't know what you were doing, but you fixed as you went around. Mm-hmm. I know people ask me about thin thread. We've had it on here, thin thread, regular thread. Then they'll ask me, which is better? Which manufacturer is better of it? Buy one, start learning the process, and then make a change as you need. Mm-hmm. So we have a couple people watching that are lurking too, so we're going to call out since you told me to start calling people out. We have the Chromaline crew watching. Art Dobie, Academy member, is watching. So Art, you got to say something.
Art, how's it going?
And Kevin Koff.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, I need to call you, Kevin. So Alan's going to send me your info.
Yeah.
So both of you guys, just comment. tell us where you are and what you do, because maybe people don't know what's going on with you guys. By the way, Dan says warming the pallets up first will be a much more consistent when using silicone ink. So that's a great tip, Dan. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And then he said, we use your Zodiac Libra silicone inks. Sanmar will be showing it around the country here soon. We tried it without the bleed blocker, but definitely ended up needing it, right? So he is making mistakes. He knows where he needs to go. He knows where the finish line is now. So the next time he sets up a job, Braden knows that he needs the bleed blocker, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about, is just being comfortable with, like, just trying stuff, right?
And I am not at all, and I'm not at all surprised that Braden isn't jumping right into that. I don't know. I've only known him a few years, but Braden and Zone have, they're always looking how they can improve. So
okay, so don't share the shop name, but talk about just because we're talking about silicone. There's a shop who their employees always said, "Hey, it won't work," right?
Yeah.
Share, you know what I'm talking about. Share that.
Well, there's a client of mine here in Michigan. Actually, Mr. Solomon, you and I have talked about it. They are right by where you live. And their employees said, yeah, we've tested silicone, we've tried, it just doesn't fit. Well, during this pandemic, the owners got in there and they're printing and they're going, they do a lot of team stuff and a lot of material like that. And they told me they got the sample kit out that they had and they learned it. And they're going, yeah. And they said when they brought all their employees back, which they brought them back, is they don't know it yet. But when they get back, this is going to be a non-option. This will be done. This is the issue is done on it. And basically is we, as human beings, we are afraid of change. As screen printers, you guys, we are afraid of change. But screen printers can also, in my mind, make mud print if they have to. You're the most ingenious if you get to it. And, you just got to get past it. And so the owners got in there and said, look, if we can make it print and print well, and it's a game changer, then everybody's going to do it. You don't want to do it, then fine. Maybe you're not for this company.
Yeah, I think the thing that if you have a culture of continuous improvement, which is, I was talking with Richard about that yesterday, right? If you have a culture of continuous improvement where you're always tweaking around, looking for stuff, doing things, experimenting. Hey, does this work? Oh, it doesn't work. Let's try something else. Why didn't it work? Whatever. You're going to be so further along than everybody else.
Yeah.
It's not like you need massive change. You just need one tiny little thing at a time. Right. And then by the end of the year, look at all the stuff that you've done. Holy smokes.
Yep.
Right. So you can't be afraid of stuff. Right. And so right now, if you're listening live or you're watching a recording, right, I want you to think about the thing that you're most afraid of in your shop. And I want you to schedule that activity to learn how to do it. Put it on your calendar next week on Thursday. From 3 o'clock, you're going to do it, right? In fact, a lot of times when I was running shops and I was doing samples, trying new stuff out, I would just make a sample order. So it's in the system and it's scheduled just like a real job. And we're going to do that at the end of the day. Let's be honest, right? Because real jobs have to go first.
Yep.
I'm scheduling it like a real job so I know that it gets done.
Yep, absolutely.
And it always worked. That always worked. And I was constantly trying new stuff out. New emulsions, new tape, new shrink wrap, new glue, new process, new procedures, new ways of doing stuff, new ways of staging orders, new ways of everything, right? And just with my own business right now, I just changed my email signature yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know I needed an improvement, so I did the work, I tweaked it, and I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I just did that yesterday. And so, you can just keep changing little things all the time, and you're going to see a huge improvement.
I procrastinated on my soapbox where I was using the free version instead of just diving in and buying it. And I did last week, and there was this was in the More Graphic account, and they had a change of people. and we had some great demonstrations with him, and I couldn't get through. Well, I knew who the big general manager was. I did a soapbox video call to him. Bam, that morning.
I'm telling you.
New contact. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have done it before. Instantly.
Right. And so why didn't you do it, Alan?
Because I fail at life. I'm afraid.
But yeah, you're afraid, right? What were you afraid of? You were afraid of spending the money, right?
I was afraid of spending the money. Now I'm going, if I get this one account, I get it. Yeah, it's 10 times over.
Right.
It's exactly it. I think the other thing, people are sometimes still afraid of, and I see online people ask about online stores. Online stores are now not new. If you're not doing that and you're marketing or trying it or working on it, stop asking around. Jump in and do it.
It's almost mandatory.
It almost is. Yeah. Learn to do it. Talk to other people who are doing it. But I see people going, who should I use? Should I use Inksoft or order my gear or Printavo or whatever or XYZ?
Right.
Do something. Move forward.
Try it out, right?
Absolutely.
Just build it.
Yeah.
All right, we got some comments, so let's get to them real quick. The whole reason I do these, thanks, Keith. The whole reason I do these calls, go to Treasure Shirt Lab, woo, is to learn. I'm 55 and learning is key. Always trying to find the right tools and knowledge to make things better in our shop and business. Thank you, Keith. And then Yosa says, me too. Great, thank you. Kisa, do Zoom calls with Shirt Lab Tribe count as something you're scared of? Yes.
Yes.
Because this is something she overcame her fear this week of doing a live Zoom call. And I don't know why, because she's such a badass.
Yeah.
Right? You just got to show up, man, and participate and engage with people. But some people are shy, and the other thing is on something like that, it's hard to admit to your peers that you're having a challenge.
Yep.
Let me tell you, everybody's struggling.
Everybody.
Me, I struggle, right? There's, I put on this air that I know everything. I don't know crap, right? I'm always trying to learn. I'm always digging into stuff, making mistakes, screwing things up, right? I just don't share that, right? Maybe I could be more vulnerable and share the struggle, but,
That's why we surround ourselves with people who know more than us in other areas, and we lean on them. I don't know anything. You know what? I have the number for Marshall and Richard Greaves and Dan Solomon. I call them Ray Smith.
Sure.
I talked to, Kevin Koth from Chromaline, who is still lurking and not posted. Give him a kudo.
Talk about his capillary film video.
That was it. He did a online demonstration of capillary film and how to apply it. Now, I have been doing this 33 years. I have worked for emulsion manufacturers. I know how to do capillary film, and I learned back in 1987. But you know what? I called Kevin and we were talking about that. I said, Kevin, I was taking notes because cap film is something, if you don't do it every day, you forget the small things. Yeah. And he made it look easy as can be. And Kevin, man, great job. If you guys are ever interested in cap film, check out his video on
Kevin, hey, we're going to get you to post. Find the link to that and share it in the comments.
Do it.
You'll have more people watch it if you do that.
Yeah, do it. A little shout out to Chromaline. Nice job on that.
So. Right. And Yost has started my, I don't know what that means. Started my yesterday maybe on info from Shirt Lab. Right. Oh, great. So he started doing the stuff from Shirt Lab Summit. That's what he means.
Hey,
we give him a break because he's from Sweden and English isn't his first language.
Right. So we give him a pass.
He gives him a pass. And then David Egger says, good morning. Good afternoon. Always great discussions. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. Hey, look up. Dan Solomon posted on the blocker from Sanmar on there. And if people don't know, Dan is making a great point there without making it. This goes to polyester. And Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. Not all shirts. It's all about dye migration. And Sanmar's Posi Charge is used with a higher end dye in there and the process is way better. It's not a cheap one done from some third world country cured in the sun. And it's not that these things will not, well, there are some, it's all about pressure and heat and
Right.
of getting them in there and how they're rinsed. And then there's these cheaper dyes that they use and they just, dry it in the sun, we won't rinse it and let it go. And those are the ones that are bleed horrible. But Dan makes the point there of that shirt. I got turned on to him a few years ago. I was doing a seminar on dye migration, and I had fluorescent inks, no backer, on a posi-charged shirt from Sanmar, and it was a year before it bled. And the only reason it bled is I folded it and took it to a show, and in the folds, it bled right there where I folded it. But it was incredible. It was over a year, and it did not bleed at all.
Yeah, and Augusta, I think, has a line of shirts that does it.
Exactly. Augusta on their digital camo, I don't know if they still have it because most digital camo is sublimated. Those are roller printed with water-based ink, and it's incredible. So, yeah. So the shirts, not all shirts bleed the same. You got to test. Great point, Dan, for bringing that up. Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's move to theme number 2. You ready?
Go.
Sales is the lifeblood of your business.
Absolutely.
Right? And so why are we talking about this? Well, we know a lot of people are still struggling right now with their shops, getting everything back to where they should have been, right? And my business is struggling. Everybody's struggling, right? And so the reason we want to talk about this is I think a lot of people are still nose to the grindstone with the orders that they're doing, and they're not proactively trying to do new things, talk to new customers. They're not actively trying to reactivate older customers that you haven't heard from a while. They're not just doing the work, right? And how do I know this? I know this because I'm talking to shop owners, and they're telling me that they need to be doing more. Okay, so the reason I want to share this with you is you need to be doing more.
Yeah.
And I think it's just we need to be rethinking about what we're doing. And I was talking with, I'm not going to tell you who, but there's a company I was talking with a couple of weeks ago, and they're about a $2 million a year business or so, and they pivoted to doing mass. In about 8 weeks, they sold $20 million worth of mass. Okay, that's not their prime business, right? What I'm telling you is, who cares?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like right now, what are people buying, and what can you do? And it's also, what can your current customers use, but also finding new customers and going after them because you can do something that they need. You can solve a problem for them, right? And you just have to do new things that you might be uncomfortable about.
Yeah. Sales can be uncomfortable, and I see people that they were great marketers, Marshall. They are great at branding their company.
Mm-hmm.
But they are not good in the sales cycle. Sales are still, yes, email and text is a tool, but sales is still conversation. And you have to be there and know how to sell. You learn it by watching for what I call buying signals. I didn't coin that. That has been around forever. And sometimes
a baseball signal.
It is, yeah. Feel third. But you know what? There are things people do and say that give you a signal going, oh, you might have touched a nerve. Sometimes it's a little bit as you're talking, as an eyebrow will go up. Oh, okay. It may be nothing, and maybe a fly was on them, and it just did. But it might be something, and it might be a little bit more as you're showing them a different product and them going, wow, I have always wondered how to get these. Right there is a huge buying signal. And right then is, you know what? Let's get your logo. Let's get it put on there. How many would you like to start with? and you ask for the order. So what is the buying signal? And do you ask for the order? I think people wait for people to say, yeah, I want to buy this, instead of saying, you don't have to say, well, give me the order.
Right.
When would you like to start? What is your time frame? There are ways to do that. And we have to get back from waiting for things to happen to start the selling process of building that business, building that trust, and asking for the order. I agree with what you said on mask. We talked, I think one of our first things, are mask a real item? And I remember, I think I said, I think they are now. I don't know that they will be in a year. I'm going to change it. I think they're going to be an item forever now. How big, I don't know. So, and I don't care if they're an item or not. It could be just like a fleece. It could be just like a polo. It could be just like a water bottle. You got to have it in your army, in your toolbox. Be ready to go.
Even if you don't do it, right? So here's the thing: is even if you, I don't want to learn how to print that or do that. Fine, find somebody that can do it for you, right? And then just like you're not going to be printing the water bottle, right? Just outsource the mask, right?
Yep.
You actually have to do this stuff, but what you have to do is be able to help your customer, and that's what the key here is, right? Is closing the sale in helping people with their problems.
And part of the sales process is knowing what the problem is and asking them. Sometimes the client doesn't know what their problem is.
Yeah, exactly. Or, hey, what are you doing about this? So like now, like it's the middle of July, and we're all, like a lot of shops are focused on back to school and will there be school? That's going on right now in my house because the school that my son goes to, they'll have on campus, but also online. And so we're having that discussion about what is Jack going to be doing, because he decided he's a junior. He's going to take mostly AP classes this year.
Sure.
So is he going to need that teacher support or not? And what's happening? And so we're like struggling through that. And I know some campuses, they're going to be all online, but some are having school. So where you live, let's say they're going to have on-campus school. Every kid there is going to need a mask, and probably 2 or 3 because they're going to forget them and all that kind of stuff. And
Lose them.
for that, but that doesn't mean that you have to do it. That just means that you have to source that. So asking questions about what's going on now will get you that order, and then what is the right type for them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is it the kind that goes around the back of the head, around the ears? Is it a neck gaiter? I mean, what is it? What do they prefer? And then maybe they need a couple samples to decide.
Absolutely.
Right. And then I would personally be giving people samples so they know and understand how they fit and how they look and all that kind of stuff, rather than, hey, here's 5,000 masks, and then, hey, we hate these. Then what do you do? Right. So I don't want to make this a whole mask discussion, but it's about solving those customer problems more than anything, and really asking questions and having that opportunity.
I was talking to one client, and he says, you know what, Alan, here in Michigan, restaurants are open up. He is still doing signs on delivery, on drive-through, on stuff like that. Yeah. And the market's there, so get it. Go do it.
Right.
Whatever it takes. And if you're not doing it, find someone who does. Farm it out.
Well, here's the thing. I know a lot of shops like Keith, he does a sign company too. Yesterday I had to go to my bank for something. I couldn't do it on the web online like I normally do. I had to actually go to the bank, and the door was locked, and it's by appointment only, which I didn't know. I'm sure they probably sent me an email, which I didn't read, but their sign was a handwritten scrawl taped to the window.
Unreal.
Okay. So it's like, here's an opportunity for somebody right there. So there's people right now who have a need, right? They have a need. Are you connecting with them?
Yeah. Right?
So hopefully some sign person uses that bank and goes, hey, I can make a sale.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hey,
there's probably other branches. You'd probably make a couple of the same.
Yeah, well, this is a big bank. So Braden says, just to come back to what we were talking about earlier, Sport Tech item is not Podgy Charge. Unfortunately, This is what they use. Deep red. We left the shop. It was bright white. I told them to watch it a couple of days, and they said it did bleed. Okay, so that's what's going on with that.
You have to watch because not all Sport Tech is PosiCharge. You've got to actually see which ones they are. And like with every manufacturer, not everything they do is the same within the different brands. So
yeah, and then also, if excuse me, if you are using a poly shirt that isn't built that way, right? Make sure your process is perfect while you're printing it and at the end of the dryer. And what I mean by that is it's 100% about heat, and heat is cumulative, right? So it's your flashing, it's your dryer temp. Also, it does the shirts go off the end of the belt and into a box,
yep.
right? Or they go into a catcher table. And what I like to have is a stack with fans blowing on the shirts, getting them as cool as they possibly can before another shirt goes on top. Because if you just take the shirts and bundle them up and put them in a box or a bag or something, it becomes like an easy bake oven. Okay, it's still hot. If it's hot to the touch, you cannot put that in a box.
Yeah.
You're just asking for trouble, right?
You don't want to stack them all way too high too, because that heat is cumulative. You want to go into smaller stacks.
Yeah,
Braden did the right thing. When it left the shop, it was bright white. He warned the client ahead of time.
Yeah, that's good.
Production to watch it a couple days, and it did bleed. So there were no surprises. He was straight up. So I think that was great.
Right. And then Yosta says, got 3 new customers with asking better questions just this week. Thanks, Marshall. You're welcome.
Perfect.
And Richard says, good afternoon. All right.
Last night.
Here. Where are we on time? We got 20 minutes and 2 topics. So let's jump to the next one, which is, how are you building trust? And the reason why I wanted to mention this is because what we want to do with building trust is we want to lower the anxiety level that people have, right? And if they have less anxiety, they're more willing to buy. And the perfect comment here was Braden's comment about, hey, Mr. Customer, watch that shirt to make sure it doesn't die migrate. That is building trust. He's outlined with clarity a possible problem, giving some expectations. And so that builds that trust with that client about, hey, did it work? Hey, it's fine. No, it didn't. We need to do something else, right? So it wasn't a surprise. Trust building, that's super important.
It's huge.
Right? So, Alan, you're in sales. How do you build trust with your clients? What's like a key tip you do?
Well, the first thing in building trust is you have to be trustworthy. There are some people that, we talked about it in our next topic where there's a client, we won't mention his name, in the industry, and he has a horrible reputation for stringing people out and not paying. And why anybody would open him up and give him credit, I'll never know. And
Right.
that's his MO. He's going to use you as the bank and going to do that, and it's awful. He'll say anything with no conscience. To me, that's not trust.
Right.
You're just not a trustworthy person. So one, you have to build trust, and have you shown yourself to be trusted? Have you, one, helped a solution? It might not be something you sell. You know what? Here's what you need. Let me call someone. You want to get up to this guy. Now you're going, wow, that was big. You weren't in there looking to be part of the sale. You're in there being a partner.
Right.
And you build trust in there. And the other thing is, say what you'll do what you say. Don't make excuses. If there's a possibility, like Braden's saying, okay, this customer probably picked out this shirt. He wasn't sure, did some checking, going, look, it looks good now, check in a couple days. That's brilliant. And right now, because even though there was a failure that it did bleed, and actually after a couple days, that's not bleeding, that's dye migration.
Right.
And because it did that now, they're not blaming Braden. They're going, okay, what do we have to do to fix this next time?
Well, you can change the shirts. You can put you know what? We're going to have to use a blocker, which is an extra screen.
Yep.
You can have that whole conversation, right?
You're now working a solution with that client.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's a partner. You're not a supplier. You're a partner. And
Right.
so when you do that, I have people call me all the time about ink questions and now emulsion questions. And now my current position, I don't sell emulsion. I haven't sold ink as a main product in a long time. I still know it. I want to be someone that they can call on solutions. I get asked on business issues. You know what? I've never owned my own business. I actually know people who do, and I call them, Marshall being one. And, client asked me about, he put it out there on incentivizing, and he was going, should I go piece rate? Should I do scrap reductions? How should we do this? I called Marshall. We got on it. I called my uncle in a different industry, a large company, and he's done some of the stuff and saying the same stuff. And it was just good information. I am now the source. Are they buying anything from me? No. But you know what? One of our distributors just quoted them all their chemical. Because now there's a source. I haven't gotten it yet, and now I'm a source. So that's how you build trust. By making it trustworthy.
It's how many touches that you're doing with somebody before they buy, right? Yep. So you're building trust, you're building trust. And then you know what? You've checked all the boxes. Hey, you're our guy.
Yep.
And that's how it works, right? And speaking of trustworthy, Peter Walsh is on. So, hey, by the way, happy birthday, Peter.
Happy birthday, Peter. It was yesterday, actually, I believe, or 2 days.
Yeah. So, man, he looks good for somebody. He's like 28, doesn't he?
He does. And it's amazing he's 28 because he was in the industry before I was. So
I know. It's just crazy.
It's incredible how he does that. He won't share that secret.
Right. So I love building trust. I think that's, part of the sales cycle that I talked about before is know, like, trust, buy, right? They have to know who you are. They have to like what you do, right? You have to build trust. And if you have those first three things, when it comes to opportunity to do something with you, you're right in there, and that the sale is probably about 60, 70% done. And all you have to do is kind of like not screw it up, and you can close the sale. Right? So,
Marshall, you ran some big companies. How did you build trust as an end user, say, with your vendors, with your garment people, with your suppliers on there? How did you do that with your suppliers? Because sometimes we want to build, everybody listening in their business, they want to build trust with their customers.
Right.
Help supply chain.
Well, there's a couple things, right? It's just common sense. You pay your bills on time.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, because if you don't pay your bills on time, then you're in the hole, right? And so you pay your bills on time. You do what you say. You're honest. You work with people. You give people a chance. You show up. You have honest conversations. You don't sugarcoat things. You tell people how it is. You're willing to learn. You're willing to try, right? So, I was a chief operating officer. I always let people, hey, send me the thing. I'll try it out, right? I'll give you the chance. And then I just want to see, will it work for me? And then what happens then is, you know what? It's just a business decision then, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to know what it is, and is it going to be better for me or not? Right. And first it has to work. And if I don't understand it, I want to make sure I'm using the product correctly. So maybe I need some training. So was there a video? Can you come in and show me? What do I need to do to understand this thing? Right. And I was always trying stuff out.
Yeah.
And some people, just, let's be honest, they're just not a good fit, but that doesn't mean that I wasn't going to try it. And I remember when the roller squeegee came out with Action, right? So I bought the whole kit, right? And that, what is that, $500, $400? I don't even remember, right? And I bought the whole kit and I put it on a press. Oh my God, it's great. It's fantastic. We bought 16 of them.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason why is because it wasn't because it was a Band-Aid, it's because we really like the foundation of how it solved lots of issues, fibrillation. It gave a good smooth surface to the underbase before we dropped the other colors on it. Also with a hoodie, right? Instead of the hood, sometimes after the flash, the hoodie will shift because the heat makes it shrink a little.
Yep.
If you do a roller, right, before you do the underbase, it squishes the shirt down into the pallet glue a little bit. and now that shirt isn't moving, right? And so that was another way we used it, right? So there's just a lot of things that you can do, and so that's an example, right? And
I love clients like that that'll say, you know what, here's what I'm using, but I'd love to see what you have. Is there something better out there?
right.
Sometimes it's a better product, sometimes it's a better product. And we're back to that fear thing. You can't be fearful of, this is how I've always done it.
Right.
We talked about is someone who works for suppliers telling you what, if you're a customer of ours and you pay your bills on time or within 10 days, I have a supplier that's done that. We will do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't say whatever, but we're going to listen. And you know what? When you can give information going, here's my usage last year, here's what I'm planning on doing this year. Now, this year it's harder because all I can say, tell me what you did last year.
Right.
Then we can make some determinations on this year because no one knows. But if you can have those numbers and work with me, then that helps me, just come up with the best solution also.
And I think also right now, a lot of shops are struggling. And I think if you're honest with your supply chain and you can say, hey, things are tough. I know this is a challenge right now. I know we have X, we owe you money or whatever. Here's what I can do. Let's work out a payment plan. If you just totally snub people and ignore them and you can't get them on the phone or whatever, and it's months and months and months and you're not taking care of your obligations and it's just like talking to the wall, okay? All I got to tell you is you're so damaging your reputation.
Yep.
Right, that at a certain point it's going to be unrecoverable.
That might lead into our last point too.
Well, before we do that, we got a bunch of comments. So let's get to them.
Oh.
Cora says, hi from Suturio, Wisconsin. Because I go to trade shows, my customers ask me more about inks and equipment questions than art questions. Great info today, guys. And by the way, Cora will be on my Forward Progress interview next Thursday, and we will be live doing simulated process separations on her design that I sent her. I shared that with Alan the other day.
Incredible design.
So it's going to be lots of fun. So make sure you tune into that. That is going to be next Thursday at 4:15 Eastern. So be sure to do that.
And Marshall, what is Forward Progress? That's new.
Forward Progress. Well, I do a Thursday interview. Yesterday I had Richard on it, and I had a name the show contest because I like the Q&A thing I do with you, which just started as a, hey, I think I'll do this.
Yeah.
And now it's really kind of turned into a show, and I'm in, I don't think my 15th or 16th show. I mean, so it's really kind of a thing now. And so it needed a name. So I did a contest, named the show. And the creative genius, Danny Rosen with Brand Fuel, sent me, I had a whole bunch of names, sent me the name. So it's going to be called Forward Progress because really one of my, I don't really publish it, but one of my business core values is movement forward. And so when he said Forward Progress, that light bulb went off and I'm like, man, that's the name I need. Right. And so, by the way, let me just share this. I already have a logo.
Be a shameless plug for you, so you
That's the new logo right there, Forward Progress.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready for next week, Cora. So, where's our?
That was lead in, so you didn't have to do a shameless plug.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
No problem.
And then Peter says, sales is a transfer of trust. Success comes from removing risk.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And I wish I could do the accent of Peter. I wish I had that talent.
I don't.
Can you do accents?
Yeah, but he's from Australia. It'll sound British. And
yeah. Try it. Just because it's funny. Try it.
I can't do it.
Sales is. I can't do it, Peter.
Yeah, I can't do it now because I worked. One of the guys when I worked at Saudi was Scottish, and we would imitate him all the time. So everything sounds Scottish now to me.
Yeah, and then Ron says, "Pay your bills and be honest." Yes, gentlemen, authenticity always works.
You also sleep better too.
Yeah,
because you don't have to worry about what you've done behind someone's back.
Right. And then Peter says, be willing to recommend a competitor's product or service if they have the best solution for our customers' needs, even if it means losing a sale today. Looking out for the best interest of the customer will always build trust and gaining business in the long term.
Perfect.
The long-term view. That's what we're talking about here.
Are you playing the long game? Are you going to be a used car salesman, one-time sale, or are you in it for the long haul? And I think I've said this before. Best advice I got business when I started at age, barely 20 was from Dick Clark, who owns DCA Financial, was the founder of that. He just told me, remember in the parking lot, we went to the same church, we were talking, we were out there by his car, and he said, you have to decide right now, are you in it for the short-term quick sale, or are you in it for the long haul?
Right.
And that was brilliant. I didn't understand it all then. I do now.
And then that's not being transactional.
That is not being transactional at all.
Right.
So, yeah, perfect, Peter. Thank you for sharing that.
All right, so we got like 5 minutes left, and we have one more topic. Do we want to dig into that at all, or just save it next time?
Well, it kind of fits with some of the stuff Ron said and Peter said on there on paying your bills, so maybe we should.
All right, there it is.
How we came on this is there are people, I know on the supplier end, Peter, when you've worked for suppliers, we've all seen this. There are people that will just string you out. If you're listening and you're that person, you're doing that to your supplier, don't do that. So with your customers, if you're doing that, do you use credit hold?
Yeah. So what credit hold is, in case you haven't heard that term before, this means that I'm not selling you anything until you pay what you already owe me.
Yep.
Right? And I think a lot of a lot of shops and businesses, they're scared of saying, hey, hold on. We're not, we value your business, so we're going to keep taking business from you. Okay. What I'm here to tell you is a customer that doesn't pay you is not a good customer.
They're not a client at all.
So they don't value you enough to pay you. Now, I'm not saying not working out our payment plan. I'm just saying we're not paying you. Right?
Yep.
You need to get paid. Right. And if you're struggling, if you've got issues or whatever, that's called communication. Right. Hey, we've got this problem. It's the pandemic. Right. We know we owe you money. Here's what we're going to do. Right. That's different.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that just constantly don't pay you. Right. Do you keep taking their business?
Yep.
Right? I'm telling you, you should stop that.
Right. Because you have turned into a bank and you don't want to be a bank.
Right. And then here's the other thing. What happens if they go out of business?
You're gone.
That $5,000 is now $50,000 or $500,000 or whatever. Right. A couple of years ago, I worked with a shop. Right. And they had over $250,000 in receivables past 90 days.
Yep.
Why is that? It's just because they just kept taking work and nobody would pay their bill.
Yep.
Right. So I'm just telling you that you got to take care of business, and saying no to people is basic business 101. I know it's hard to hear. And here's the challenge is that the sales team wants to keep selling.
Yeah.
Right. The financial arm of the business needs to have the power to say, talk to the hand. Right.
We're now in a term now where it's a lot of pay up front.
Yeah, well, here we go.
Right there. Yeah. Good job, Ron.
The up front terms are for turkeys.
The problem is, so in my business, I can't do that. Your distributors are buying huge amounts, and so there are terms and payments on there. So there are still going to be some time for that. Very few people will pay that up front. Now, we still get into a thing where people will, string that out, and they'll place orders, and we'll go, we have a policy. You owe us money, it's not shipping usually.
Right. Yosta says a lot of old customers are still on 30 days invoice. The rest is down to 10. And then Ron wants you to reread Profit First. So Yosta, if you haven't read Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, I recommend that you do that.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you, as a business, as a shop, you should be getting 100% of your money up front before you do anything, before you create the art, before you do anything, order the shirt, whatever. Get all the money up front. even if you're shipping it to somebody, right?
Yep.
Just figure out what your average shipping cost is. What's the worst case scenario? And then add 5 or 10% on top of that just to cover you. And then include it in, call it free shipping, right? And then that's going to add 75 cents or $1 a shirt or whatever it is. You have a free shipping program, and there you go. And that way you don't have to worry about it. Get all the money up front, bill your customer, they pay it, now you're working.
And
right?
it sounds like a hard thing, but you know what? I just ordered a new lawn sprinkler from Amazon, paid up front. I just ordered a new pair of jeans, Amazon, paid up front, of the brand I like. I ordered, the whiteboard, paid up front. It's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah. Eric says, hey, Eric.
Yeah, Eric, what's up?
If you're willing to give them room and they will take it, right? Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And Ron says pay up front is the new industry standard. Yep. It is.
It is.
I've been talking about it for a year at least, for a long time.
Absolutely.
And now, with the pandemic, it's so easy to do this. So here's the phrase, right? Hey, with the pandemic, I'm sorry, we've had to make a shift in our payment plan. We're no longer taking a deposit or 50%. We've had to move to 100% because we're a small business. That's all you have to say. Blame it on the pandemic. Man, we wish we could do it. But now we've had to make the switch because of the pandemic. Sorry.
And if they bitch at that, you've just learned something more about that person and that company.
Right. You know what? Let them put it on their Visa or whatever, right? Their credit card. I don't know what these in Sweden. But
yeah. And you know what? Shoot, American Express, get points all day long.
Yeah. Do they have American Express in Sweden?
Yes, they do.
Is it Swedish Express?
It's American Express. It's everywhere you go.
It is everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Shane says it doesn't work with government agencies. Okay, do the government agencies buy from Amazon? They do. Do they buy a plane ticket? They do. Do they send the PO to Amazon? No. Okay, it's I know people who do work for government agencies and they're getting the money up front.
Yep.
So it doesn't work for you, right? It's how you articulate it. So ask them, hey, Mr. Agency, hey, school district, do you guys buy from Amazon? Well, yes, of course we do. Okay. If you can buy from Amazon up front, you can buy from me the same way.
Absolutely.
Right. And that has worked with other people. I don't know if it'll work for you, but that has worked for other people. So try it out. It's been tough with us with universities and government organizations getting payment up front. Yes. It's not impossible, though, because people are having success. I'm just letting you know maybe it's impossible where you are and it won't work, but let's try it. Try the thing. See if they have a Visa card, right? And just, they have change. I don't know what that means. Maybe they will change, right? Yep. So, yes, I do government work and they pay with a credit card up front. So there you go. Right there. Proof. Thank you, William. Proof.
Yep. William, where are you from? Post where you're from, William. I know Shane is in Michigan.
And then Eric says it's easy to look at your gross sales numbers and get confused. That doesn't reflect the bottom line unless you're getting paid up front. And even then there are losses. Know all of your numbers. Yes, you can't manage what you don't measure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, we're past the hour, top of the hour. So last minute questions or comments, get them in right now because we need to wrap it up.
Peter just posted.
Oh, it's a big one. It's going
to hide our face.
Hide us. As a business, you have a customer that owes you money. The biggest issue is not to let things get any worse. You don't benefit by refusing to sell to them. An approach that has worked for me is to get cash in advance or COD for a new order plus a payment from the outstanding balance under a payment plan. Thank you. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
And that goes
from Virginia.
Thank you, William. And you know what? That goes back to having a partnership with your supplier, with your customer, because now you can work out a plan. Everybody runs into difficulty and you can run into a plan.
Right.
When they refuse to do that, then you have no choice. Company I used to work for, J Products back in the day, this was way before everybody had credit card machines. But if they were behind on their bill, I used to tell them, say, look, don't avoid our credit manager's call. Don't avoid, talk to them, work out a plan. If you get a yellow slip from Rossman Collection Agency, I can't do anything. I'm notifying your next of kin. I swear Rossman, I swear it was the mafia because they were brutal. Yeah.
Guido worked for them.
I never met him, and they're out of Cincinnati. But all that to say is talk. Everybody has issues and problems. Build a partnership.
Right now, it's common. Everybody's got a challenge.
Exactly.
We just want to have the conversation. What's going on?
Yep, absolutely. So,
right. So before we wrap up, we got some. Ron says even if only 80% do much better than the old 50% up front and balance on delivery.
Absolutely.
Braden says, here's the tip. If you have a large government order, we've had some of the suppliers work with us. They set up separate net term accounts specific to that one order. All we have to do is show them the city purchase order, and they've been really great to help us out. That is such gold, Braden. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure S&S will probably do that too.
And you know what? Thank you, Braden, because that shows it's not etched in stone. Talk with your suppliers. It still comes down to having the conversation.
Conversations. Yes.
Absolutely. Perfect, Braden.
All right. So we're going to wrap up.
Braden, I wish Zoom was in the Midwest. I would love to deal with you guys.
Yeah. And it's Zone, by the way. Not Zoom.
Zone, my bad.
So shirtlabtribe.com. I want to make sure I mention that. If you're a shop in this industry, you need to be in the tribe. What we're doing right now is for the first 100 shops that join, it's $49 a month. And there's tons of value in the shop. There's lots of networking. There's lots of answers to problems just like this. Every single Thursday, we have a presentation from an industry expert or a guru, somebody giving time in the group that's private to the group. And we're also having an online thing that we're building where it's going to be a big website full of information and stuff. We're putting that together right now. There's going to be lots of stuff in there for everyone. It's a private group. Once we get to 100 shops, which we think is probably going to be maybe December-ish, end of the year, it's going to go up to $99 a month. $49 forever. You can pay monthly, right? Try it out for a month. There's no, you don't like it, then, don't do it next month. But try it out, see what's going on in there. I recommend it. shirtlabtribe.com. And I think you'll like what you're going to see in there. Lots of great folks. And it's part of our little Shirt Lab stuff we got going on. Alan just did a presentation 2 weeks ago about how to print better whites.
Yep, great.
I did a presentation yesterday about how to write a business plan, right? So it's lots of good stuff in there. And if you need to get a hold of us, this is Alan's email. Please email Alan. Alan, you'll help people, right?
I do. Even on Saturdays, there's some people watching that have actually texted me on Saturdays, and I picked up. I just called them, so not a problem. I have the time. I will, especially somebody that's into this. So anytime.
Were you fishing when you did that?
I was not. I was actually at home. I have at times. There was a client, Joe McNamara. He runs Showtime in Tennessee, and he called me one time, and I lived in Pennsylvania, but I was up with my parents on their lake, and I had my headset on, and him said, phone, we're talking. I go, hold on. And I set the hook. He goes, are you fishing? I go, yeah, hold on. And there was largemouth bass. I took a picture of it and said to him, he goes, I'm giving you an order and you're fishing. I go, America's a great country.
That's great. What a fantastic.
That's happened before.
I love it. And then here's my email address, Marshall@MarshallAtkinson.com. It's set up that way, so it's easy to remember. All you have to know is my name. Okay. Yep. And we got some last minute.
Let's give a shout out to Eric Campbell has to take up this afternoon.
Have a great weekend. Eric says you have to ask both the supplier side and the customer side. Go for the big ask. And please watch Eric's show. He does a really good job with that. David says, enjoy the weekend. Thanks. Really appreciate you guys. Always great tips. Thank you, Braden. Ron says, glad to catch you two today. And Ron, make it a good day. We're happy to be here.
A good day.
And Keith says, thanks. All right. So we're out. That's going to do it for us.
Be safe. Be kind. Enjoy the weekend.
Have a good weekend. And don't forget, tax day is July 15th next week.
Yeah.
You know,
I haven't been done.
don't be like me and put it off to the last day.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks. See you.
Bye.